Senate nominee raised a staggering $30 million from April through June, his campaign announced on Wednesday, more than triple the amount brought in by his Republican opponent, Attorney General Ken Paxton. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm guest host Doris Childress. We'll also talk with HPN reporter Dominic Anthony Walsh about his story on what legal experts think about Mayor Whitmire saying that HPD can't investigate the fatal ICE shooting. And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. A bipartisan housing affordability bill could still become law this weekend without President Trump's signature. Today, the Republican leader wrote on social media that he was declining to sign the legislation in protest of Congress's inability to pass a more strict voter ID bill. As the U.S. and Iran continue to trade fire, Iran laid to rest Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was assassinated on the first day of the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. The head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps called for revenge. As NPR's Hadil Al-Shalchi reports, the Iranian commander is rarely seen in public but made an exception to attend Khamenei's funeral.
Brigadier General Ahmad Vahidi said the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was the beginning of a, quote, new chapter of honor and perseverance in Iran. In a statement, he called Khamenei, who was killed at the start of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran, a martyr, and that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard will not rest until justice is served. While Vahidi occasionally issues public statements, his attendance at Khamenei's funeral was the first public appearance since the start of the war. Vahidi publicly performed funeral prayers with three of Khamenei's sons. Khamenei's fourth son and current Iranian leader was not seen during the week-long funeral procession. Hadil Al-Shalchi, NPR News, Istanbul.
Countries across Asia and Africa are turning to solar, batteries, and electric vehicles at a faster clip as oil prices remain volatile because of the U.S.-Iran war. Here's NPR's Julia Simon.
For these countries, it's a deliberate strategy to decrease their dependence on precarious natural gas and oil markets. Most of the EVs, solar, and batteries come from China. The Philippines imported more than $470 million in Chinese solar panels from February to May. That's a 139% increase from a year ago. As for EVs, China exported more than 2 million electric passenger vehicles between January and May. A recent analysis note from consultancy Sia Energy writes, if China's car industry were handing out a Salesman of the Year award for 2026, President Trump would be a leading contender. Julia Simon, NPR News.
Hundreds of thousands of Syrian and Haitian immigrants living legally in the U.S. are close to losing their ability to work in the country. The Supreme Court recently cleared the path for the administration to revoke their temporary protected status. Catherine Mobley of member station WYSO's in Springfield, Ohio, home to a large Haitian community.
In Springfield, there's a place called the Haitian Support Center, and they've been fielding calls from people who have questions about their immigration papers, what they can do. Meanwhile, many nonprofits are encouraging these individuals who used to have TPS to apply for asylum, but that's a very slow process, and it's not any protection from being deported.
WYSO's Catherine Mobley reporting. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Jack Williams. Houston area Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia is holding a press conference this hour to release more information about this week's ICE shooting. Garcia is set to discuss word that Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was not the initial target of the ICE operation in Houston's East End on Tuesday. She's joined by Harris County District Attorney Sean Tier and the attorney representing the Araujo family. We'll have an update during Hello Houston next year on News 88.7. Meanwhile, Houston Mayor John Whitmire says the police department cannot investigate the shooting by ICE agents, but legal experts disagree. Here's more from News 88.7's Dominic Anthony Walsh.
Whitmire argues the matter is outside HPD's jurisdiction.
This is a time for the federal government to oversee their employees.
But Tom Hogan with the South Texas College of Law says HPD can work with the district attorney's office to probe the incident.
Suppose a federal officer, while he was working, shot the mayor. Is everyone going to claim that he can't be prosecuted for murder just because he was on duty at the time? No, of course not.
A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security alleges Araujo weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to run over an ICE law enforcement officer, which his family disputes. I'm Dominic Anthony Walsh, News 88.7.
And again, we'll have more on this next during Hello Houston on News 88.7. Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo says she has mono and will limit her public appearances for a couple of weeks. In a social media post, Hidalgo said she had a persistent sore throat and fatigue and was tested. She wore a face mask to Commissioner's Court yesterday and left early. She says she'll take some time to rest. Harris County Sheriff's investigators say a man was found shot dead in his car early this morning in the Cypress area. The 19-year-old victim was found at the intersection of FM 529 and the Grand Parkway at around 3 a.m. He had been shot multiple times. Investigators say witnesses saw gunfire from another vehicle. It's going to be warm again today. A chance of thunderstorms, the high around 92. Mostly cloudy tonight, maybe some thunderstorms, the low around 80. We have 86 degrees here at the University of Houston. I'm Jack Williams, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from Progressive Insurance, committed to helping homeowners compare and choose home insurance from a network of companies in one place with Home Quote Explorer. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Hello there, Houston. Ernie Manouse with you on this Friday. Almost noon. Got another hour before we hit noon. Sitting in with me, we are very excited to have back with us Doris Childress in the guest host chair. Hello there, Doris.
Hello, Houston. Hello, Ernie.
It's been a busy week. You haven't been here with us, but I'm sure you've been following the news.
I
and
have
the
been
stories
following
of
the news.
day.
It's been a very busy and emotional week in the city.
Yeah, it has been. Currently, as we are on the air, there is a press conference going on right now in regards to the ICE shooting that happened. Many of the folks at that conference have been on the show already since Tuesday here with us. Sylvia Garcia is there. Al Green is there. Jean Wu is there. The county DA is there. Sean Tier. And we will cut into that conference when we have time to get there. They're telling me we can go over there right now. We are joining this update on the deadly ICE shooting in progress.
Tenemos uno de los abogados aquí. ICE dio el nombre de Lorenzo al público y la prensa antes de decirle a la familia que su papá había fallecido. El director dijo que eso no fue bueno. Se repuesta me enfurció y le demandé una disculpa a la familia de Lorenzo, pero lo negó.
Sylvia Garcia repeating her remarks that she initially made in English. Now she's giving them in Spanish. When they switch back over to English, we will go back to it as they move on into the English portion for the majority of our listeners right now. The entire conference, for those who would like to hear it in either language, you can find it streaming online at various sources, but we'll bring it to you in just a moment. It's a very disturbing situation, and a lot of, I don't know how much is new information, a lot of advancement of information we already know has come out in the last 24 hours or maybe even 12 hours. Sylvia Garcia has spoken with ICE, as I understand it, and has gotten some response from them. A lawyer for the other three gentlemen who were in the van is about to speak. He's going to the mic. Let's hear what he has to say.
Well, they want us to do that because otherwise all this gets in the way.
They're getting him situated right now. I will tell you, Kyle.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I want to extend my gratitude. Yes, my name is Hugo Valderas. I am the attorney representing Jose and Daniel. They're currently being detained at the Conroe Detention Center here, at the Montgomery Processing Center here in Conroe, Texas. I'm sorry, first of all, I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Lorenzo. I pray that their faith can strengthen them through these difficult times. Secondly, I thank Congresswoman Silvia Garcia and for arranging this, and all of you guys for joining us here to get this message out. Until now, we only had the statements of the ICE agents as to their versions of what happened, of what transpired that past Tuesday. But yesterday morning, I personally went to speak with the 3 individuals that were with Mr. Lorenzo on that tragic day this Tuesday. I can tell you, my clients will forever be physically and emotionally scarred by this killing. None of these families will ever be whole again. One man lost a brother. The other 2 men lost a dear friend. What a devastating tragedy. And to what end? He had no criminal record. He had been in here in the United States for over 30.
Websites your competitors don't want you to know, part 2. All you do is go to this website, and it lets you find out.
We're going to jump back in just a moment as we continue to listen to this. The video we have been listening to is coming courtesy of KHOU, so we don't have control over what else comes up on their website when they are doing these things. We are still showing it online, but we will be getting you more information as we continue. Who you were just hearing from was the lawyer who has had the opportunity to speak with the 3 gentlemen that are being held in, as I understand, in a detention center in Conroe area.
You know, what I'm noticing is that the information is coming down piece by piece by piece. Mm-hmm. And so you really do have to stay on top of it. I know a lot of people are worried about just overdoing the story, but there is no overkill. You need every bit of details to get down to what happened.
I am looking to see, are we back in it? Can we come back to the...
Yes,
we're
we
back
are.
in the press conference.
Investigation be conducted. The families deserve to know the truth. They deserve justice and dignities, all parties involved. And finally, I am calling for drastic changes to the immigration, to the way the ICE conducts their immigration enforcement. It's alarming that under Trump's second administration, 9 out of every 10 immigrants that are arrested are Latinos. This is not immigration enforcement. This is racial profiling. It's very important that they are required to wear body cameras. It's very important that they are required to remove their masks. Another thing that's very alarming is, like the Congresswoman mentioned, unmarked vehicles. That is extremely dangerous. There have been at least 38 shootings by immigration agents since January 2025, resulting in 9 deaths. That is just simply unacceptable. I mean, just after speaking with these men, I have no doubt that what they're saying is the truth. I know that the agency is going to try to cover it up. This is not the first time that it happens. This has become a pattern where ICE agents claim that they use their vehicle as a deadly weapon, that they tried to run over the agents and the agents shot in self-defense. But all 3 of my clients reiterated that at no point was there ever an agent standing in front of the vehicle, nor was an agent ever placed in the line of danger. That is simply false, and I believe my clients are telling the truth. Again, right now, my office is working diligently to get these men released for the integrity of this investigation, because we know that ICE has a pattern as well of deporting immigrants before they can be heard, before they are given their due process. So it's very important that we make sure that they are not deported, and as I mentioned, I'm working with the office. I have other people that have reached out as well that I'm going to be working with. And in closing, I just want to mention a quote that I'm reminded by the late Martin Luther King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from our district attorney.
This is the tallest I've ever felt. Thank you, Congresswoman, Congressman. I think it's important before I even start to just show everyone that we have literally every layer of government here supporting what we're doing, from our federal partners to our state rep, Jean Wu, to our county attorney for the civil aspects of this case. But I am Sean Tier, and I am the district attorney of Harris County. Since Tuesday, when this incident occurred, we have been conducting our own investigation. We investigate every officer-involved shooting in Harris County. When it involves an agency that is not ICE, universally we are invited in that day. We run a parallel investigation where we collaborate with law enforcement, be it federal agencies or our state and local agencies. And at the end of that, we all collaborate and decide what the appropriate outcome is. Almost universally, it is we present the case to a grand jury and let them decide. We were not invited into this scene on Tuesday. My investigators and my civil rights division have been out there from basically the moment.
For almost 5 decades.
We are taking control back again. The issue that we are running into is that the different sources that are sharing this information are being interrupted by commercial breaks. Currently, Sean Tier is speaking about the situation. If you want to hear an in-depth conversation with Sean Tier, we had him on the show yesterday in his first interview about this situation. You can check that on our YouTube page. I was just sent a message from the mayor of the City of Houston, a copy of a letter that J. Noe Diaz, the chief of police, has sent to the Inspector General of the Office of the Inspector General of Homeland Security, in which he says, at the direction of Mayor Whitmire, I will make all appropriate resources available to support DHS, OIG, and the FBI Houston Division in their efforts to ensure this investigation is conducted in a timely, transparent, and thorough manner. That's J. Noe Diaz, Jr., Chief of Police of the City of Houston, on behalf of the Mayor of Houston, sent to the Inspector General Kafari of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. That was just shared with us from the mayor's office.
So that's the Houston Division of the FBI, not HPD.
Right, that they will, that HPD will work with
the
local division to
Just
make
wanted to
sure
make
that
sure I
this
heard
is
that right.
timely, transparent, and thorough. Yes, just reading back over the notes that was sent. And this was sent to us by Mary Benton, who works with the mayor in the mayor's office to make sure that we got that information.
And just a little recap, the 3 men that were in the car included his brother and 2 employees, longtime employees. And right now they're in Conroe in a detainment facility. And there is the possibility that they will be deported. Now, if that happens, I guess I'm trying to figure out how do you carry on with the case if they're deported, and can you get all of the information that is needed?
Yeah. We also want to let you know our phone lines are open. This has been an awful lot for our community. There have been a lot of heated reaction to it on both sides of the aisle about this. We're interested in what you think and sharing your thoughts, concerns, things you may have heard in the news, things you may have seen in your own community, things you may have heard on this show over the last couple of days as we've continued to follow this story. Our number here is 713-440-8870. If you have a thought, an opinion, a question you'd like to share with us, please give us a call right now, 713-440-8870. I'll also let you know that HPM reporter Kyle McClanagan is at the press conference, and he will be joining us afterwards to share with us what he has heard, what he has seen, what he has now learned from this press conference. As I mentioned earlier, there is quite a gathering of local officials there at this event, which is one of the reasons why we have none of them on with us right now. They are holding this press conference, but we have been in touch with both Sylvia Garcia's office, the mayor's office, and the county DA's office, and they continue to share with us information as they get it as well. And as we get that information, we share it with you.
But we still want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870. I did love the fact that the attorney did put a human face on it by calling my father a son and a husband. And just by saying that and quoting Dr. King, it engages the audience to care about these stories and not get numb to what's going on in our community. So let's stay in tune to hear more updates.
Wine Goddess Texas says in our chat group over on YouTube, where we always invite you to join the conversation there. It's a real-time conversation with the show, and we can pull from there. Wine Goddess says, this is not in regards to the letter that I just read from the chief of police. She says, this is not the same thing as HPD conducting its own investigation, sadly. As Sean Tier said yesterday, the problem is that the federal statutes oversee local. They can do investigations. The problem is so much of the evidence and the access to information is limited when the feds are in the mix. And so that makes it more difficult for a local investigation.
Okay.
Right. But we'll be talking also later in the show about the fact that the mayor has said that he couldn't be part of this investigation, and we've spoken with law officials who have said, no, actually, that's not what the law says, and we'll get that in just a little bit with one of our guests joining us. One of our reporters will be in here. 713-440-8870. Thomas from Deerbrook is on the line. Thomas, what's on your mind today?
Yes, sir. I'm calling from Deer Park, Texas, and I'll try to be brief, but basically these immigrants, these people who are being targeted and imprisoned, and then also, like what happened with this gentleman that been killed. My question is, if they hold citizenship in Mexico, what does that mean for? How does the Mexican government, or how do they feel about their people, again, being imprisoned like this, being killed in this manner? And to think of it in terms of, if we as American citizens, if we were to go to another country and be treated the same way, how would our government respond, and how would they, try to come to our aid? And I'm just curious if Mexico is considering doing the same thing.
You are asking a question that falls right into an area that I know that there is a more complete answer than what I am going to give you right now, but the president of Mexico has spoken out on this and has threatened to sue the U.S. government. But why I say that in that grasping is because I don't exactly know what she actually had said about that. I've seen the news stories and I haven't had a chance to dig deeper into it. But you are bringing up an issue that has been of concern. We'll try and find you some answers on that, Thomas. 713-440-8870. Joining us now is Judge Vanessa Gilmore. Judge Gilmore, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ernie. I just had a comment about one of the questions that was raised a moment ago, and that was, what about the persons that are in custody now, the other three witnesses, and will they be deported and not have an opportunity to really tell what happened? And one of the things that, that I spent many years as a federal judge, and we had many situations where there were persons who were also victims of crimes, but they were here undocumented in the United States. And one of the things that we used as a remedy is that they would be provided what we called U visas. And a U visa allows a law enforcement authority, a judge, to let people stay in the United States so that they will have an opportunity to participate in the process as witnesses when they are needed, when their testimony is needed. Now, the government is the one who has to request the U visa. So the issue would be whether or not they would actually ask for it in this instance to allow those persons to remain in the United States legally.
Let me pause you right there for a second and ask, when you say the government, at what level government has to request this?
So in the cases that I handle generally, the United States Attorney's Office would be responsible for asking the court to get a U visa for a witness. It happened a lot, for instance, in sex trafficking cases where people were brought here illegally to be trafficked. And then we would be prosecuting the sex traffickers, but we would want the victims of those sex trafficking cases to stay in the United States to testify against those persons. So there is a mechanism where people can stay in the United States even though they don't have legal status here, so that they can participate in the process. And you would hope that in this instance that someone, the Justice Department primarily, would ask for a U visa for those three gentlemen that are in custody now so that they could stay in the United States and be witnesses in this case.
I guess, though, that raises a question. As you talk about it, the U.S. District Attorney, could Harris County DA request this? Could the mayor request it? Could the county judge request it? Or would it have to be at a federal level?
As I believe that it exists, it generally is at a federal level where the U visas are requested.
So,
but the other thing that could happen is that the lawyer, the gentleman who was on a few moments ago, who represents the family, he could also make a plea on behalf of those gentlemen to get them a U visa as well.
I know that yesterday when we were talking with Sean Tier, when he was on the program, our local Harris County District Attorney, that he was not even sure where the three other gentlemen were being held at the time and was concerned that they may have already been deported or were in the process of it. So I'm assuming this is a positive step, that there is a lawyer now speaking with them and has had interaction with them. Does that help in any way delay a potential deportation? Would you know that?
I would hope so, and because I would hope and think that he would take efforts to try to secure a U visa for them.
Is there a time limit on those U visas?
You mean how long they have?
How long they
them?
have? Yeah. Can we prolong them staying here to get what we need, or is it indefinite? Is it based on how long the case?
Generally based on how long you need them for the case.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Judge, thank you very much for joining us. If you hear other issues or parts that you think need further clarification, I hope you'll reach back out to us. We always enjoy having you with us.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
That is retired Judge Vanessa Gilmore, federal judge, and we always appreciate her insight into these issues. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dominic Anthony Walsh will be joining us with the local HPD layer that has just seemed to evolve even further as we continue our coverage of this very important story. This is Hello Houston.
Meet Tio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
Catch up on past seasons with Passport or stream live whenever the mood strikes.
All your favorite shows.
Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs. The next chapter is waiting.
On HPM Plus.
1 year ago, Houston Public Media lost federal funding. Houston answered. You helped keep trusted news, local voices, and public media moving forward for this community. That support brought us 85% of the way to our Resiliency Fund goal. Now, $650,000 remains. Help carry this momentum forward and give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe, R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul, music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support comes from Discovery Green, a 12-acre park in downtown Houston. This summer, Discovery Green is presenting concerts featuring music from around the world, Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. More information at discoverygreen.com.
Support comes from the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. Picasso's Cubism, Klay's Abstraction, and Matisse's Playful Vision arrived from Germany in Masterpieces from the Museum Berggruen, now on view. Exhibit details at mfah.org.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Alley Theater, presenting The Girl on the Train, a psychological thriller about memory, perception, and the search for the truth. Opens July 24th. Tickets at alleytheater.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse and guest host Doris Childress.
Day after federal immigration officer shot and killed Lorenzo Salgado Araujo in Houston, Mayor John Whitmire told reporters the city's police department cannot independently investigate the incident. This is a time for the federal government to oversee their employees, Whitmire said. I'm not going to promise something I cannot carry out. This is a federal matter, and we have no access to the evidence. A spokesperson for the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement alleged Salgado Araujo weaponized his vehicle in an attempt to run over an ICE law enforcement officer, resulting in the officer firing his weapon in self-defense. Salgado Araujo's family disputed the allegations and joined local Democratic elected officials in calling for an independent investigation of the shooting. Joining us now to discuss his in-depth report on this story and on what legal experts think Whitmire is saying about HPD and their investigation or lack thereof is our own HPM reporter, Dominic Anthony Walsh. Please get us up to speed on this, Dominic.
Yeah, I mean, so Mayor Whitmire this week has said that HPD was not involved in the incident and will not do an independent investigation. We did just a few hours ago receive a letter that Chief Noe Diaz sent to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI, in which he says that at the direction of Mayor Whitmire, the department will make available all appropriate resources to support DHS and the FBI in their efforts to conduct an investigation in a timely, transparent, and thorough manner. So that new letter was sent to reporters today. In the letter, though, there is no indication that the department will launch an independent investigation, which is what the family and many other local officials have been calling for.
I guess my concern here is it goes to the bureau, the FBI bureau here in Houston, though. It's not the federal version. It's the Houston office of it.
So it's addressed one letter to the Inspector General over at DHS, which is investigating the officer-involved shooting, the shooting of Araujo by this ICE officer. And then another letter went to Special Agent Jason Hudson over at the FBI. And so the address listed is here in Houston, yeah. And the FBI, from what we understand, was investigating the incident as an assault on the ICE officer.
Right. This doesn't change anything then?
It doesn't appear to meet the demands that have been made by the family of Salgado Araujo or other local elected officials, which is for the police department to do its own investigation.
And what does that investigation bring? I know a lot of people saying, oh, well, you've already got the FBI, you've already got the ICE doing its own report. What extra layer would that bring?
Yes. So with what DHS is doing, their Office of Inspector General looking into the shooting, there's an argument that it's ICE investigating itself, essentially. And so the calls are for an independent agency, not directly tied to ICE, to do this investigation. We did see after the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy and Renee Good in Minneapolis that local and state officials there launched their own independent investigations. But it was tough because federal authorities didn't necessarily cooperate. However, that didn't stop them from still trying to do an independent investigation, which is ongoing, and there are fights in court right now over local and state officials' access to evidence. And that access to evidence is one of the things Whitmire has raised as a concern, saying that HPD does not have that access.
And that would be all the footage, because the footage that's coming in right now is just from bystanders and local businesses that had cameras and so on and so forth. But they could independently give it to HPD if they wanted.
Yes, and from what we understand, District Attorney Sean Tier's office is seeking those videos. Mm-hmm. He's asked the public to send in videos. So he is doing a local investigation. The legal experts that I spoke with said that the things that Mayor Whitmire and HPD have said isn't quite true. For example, Mayor Whitmire and HPD have essentially said that HPD does not have jurisdiction to investigate this. HPD, their statement, I'll read it from a few days ago, quote, federal law states local law enforcement has no independent jurisdiction to investigate federal agencies or federal law enforcement personnel who are acting in the course and scope of their official duties. Now, I read that statement to a couple legal experts, and I'll just read what one of them told me, Tom Hogan over at the South Texas College of Law. He called the assertion ridiculous, and he said, quote, suppose a federal officer, while he was working, shot the mayor. Is everyone going to claim that he can't be prosecuted for murder just because he was on duty at the time? No, of course not. So the, perspective of legal experts I've spoken with in the course of my reporting is, despite what has been said by Mayor Whitmire and HPD, they absolutely do have the ability and the jurisdiction to at least launch an investigation.
And they were talking about de-escalation in these situations. I guess it's hard for a citizen to know who this person is. It was an unmarked vehicle, right? And they were in plain clothes. So how do you navigate, or has there been much discussion on navigating these situations in the future?
So the experts that I spoke with said that any sort of investigation would really center on whether the use of force was reasonable, and that the second the deadly force is exercised in an unreasonable fashion, that is outside the scope of official duties. And they really emphasized you don't know until you investigate. You can't know exactly what happened and whether there should be potentially local or state charges until there is an investigation.
I guess going back to the legal issue of it all, and it's always hard and troublesome to understand, the federal supersedes the local. And so therefore, and this is the argument that's been made, if the federal authorities are investigating, they supersede what local can do. What fascinates me here is why it is a problem to share information across the board. You can still have your federal investigation without securing the information, the evidence, to the point that other agencies cannot see it.
So typically what happens, according to, for example, Tom Hogan, who I spoke with, he's a former, he was in a DA's office over in Pennsylvania, and he told me that whenever there was a shooting by a federal law enforcement official, he would do a parallel investigation, and there would be cooperation, and that was expected. And so it is or was relatively common practice for whenever there's a shooting in a local jurisdiction, there to be some level of inquiry, probing by local law enforcement officials.
We are curious your thoughts, feelings, and reactions to this story as it continues to develop. If you would like to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. We have a call on the line right now from Chris from Cyprus. Chris, what's on your mind?
Hi, I was wondering if there was any more information about the Mexican government getting involved, since it was one of their citizens, and if the people that were detained in the vehicle, are they going to be released to Mexico?
There was talk of that, as I mentioned earlier, and I don't have the current information. Dominic, have you been following that part of the story at all?
I have not been following that.
The president of Mexico did make a statement on this, and as you folks continue to talk, I'm going to look that up.
Yes. Basically, when we're talking about jurisdiction, as you were saying, is it just different in this whole ICE situation? Because if it were some other situation, other than when we're talking about deportation and other things, it seems like HPD would immediately be involved and the organizations would share. What makes this uniquely difficult to get the information? Have you heard anything about that, or have you seen it in your reporting?
When it comes to the question of jurisdiction, one of the other experts I spoke with, Sandra Thompson at the University of Houston Law Center, agrees that this incident can absolutely be investigated by local authorities. She said that if you have a federal officer who just decides to kill someone, that's a state crime. That would be murder under state law. Quote, they're not relieved of jurisdiction just because the person is a federal agent. And she also emphasized that you don't really know whether it's murder, manslaughter, any other potential local or state crime until there is an investigation.
If these legal standards are just out there, why are we getting these blanket statements of we can't investigate?
Yeah, so I also looked into, for my reporting, some of the potential political calculus that Mayor Whitmire is facing. The death of Salgado Araujo at the hands of federal law enforcement is not the first immigration-related crisis that Whitmire has faced this year. Just a few months ago in April, Texas Governor Greg Abbott threatened to revoke $114 million in public safety funding unless city officials reversed a policy that was intended to curb HPD's coordination with ICE. Whitmire and the city council conceded to that. And, I remember before the meeting where city council voted to reverse that policy under pressure from Abbott, Whitmire's office passed out sheets of paper to city council members outlining more than $260 million in pretty much unrelated appropriations from the Texas legislature to Houston last year. His emphasis when it comes to ICE and immigration enforcement in Houston is, first of all, in his eyes, HPD is not involved. HPD does not do immigration enforcement. And then the other perspective he has is he doesn't want to draw the ire of state and federal officials because it could risk funding to the city.
They don't do enforcement, but they do work with them in some kind of way.
Yes, and that was what that policy in April was all about, was whether or not HPD contacts ICE over civil immigration warrants and how long they wait. So under the policy that was advocated for by some of the progressive members of city council, and that was initially supported by Mayor Whitmire, HPD would have been prohibited from detaining people or prolonging a traffic stop solely due to a civil immigration warrant. Now, Whitmire initially supported that. After Abbott's threat, he pushed to walk it back. And so now HPD, whenever they encounter someone with an ICE warrant, they can wait a, quote, reasonable amount of time for ICE to come to the scene and detain that person.
I'll let you get back to that conversation, but I do want to go back and address Chris's question and the points we brought up earlier about the reaction from Mexico. And Texas Public Radio is reporting, speaking at her Wednesday morning news conference, President Sheinbaum said that the shooting reflects a broader pattern of mistreatment of Mexican migrants. She said the Mexican government plans to pursue legal action beyond the diplomatic complaint that has already been filed with international human rights bodies. Quote, "Our objective is to go beyond diplomatic notes," Sheinbaum said. The Mexican Foreign Ministry is preparing legal action in the United States following the shooting. That's the latest I have on that.
I'm still a bit blurry on the details surrounding the pursuit of Araujo and his truck and his van. Can you give me some clarity on, was there a warrant for him, or was it he just looked like someone? I'm still a bit confused on that because I've heard two different things.
Yeah, so ICE has said that he was not the targeted individual, and we've recently gotten some additional statements from DHS. I'll read one of them now. Quote, this is according to a DHS official. "After receiving a credible tip from our law enforcement partners, our officers conducted surveillance on a target's address. Weeks prior to the incident, they noted 2 white vans at the property. On July 7th, officers were almost at the target's address when they observed a white van with an individual who resembled the target. Officers then initiated the vehicle stop."
I don't know what to do with that as a listener and as a citizen.
It's very vague, and
that's what I'm getting at. It seems very vague
and worded very precisely. So my read of this statement is that DHS is saying that the ICE agents saw someone in the van who they thought looked like the target. They still haven't confirmed or denied, at least from what I've seen, whether or not anyone in the van was the target. They have said that Salgado Araujo was not the intended target.
I want to also mention that Sylvia Garcia, Representative Garcia, says that she spoke with David Venturella, who is the acting director of ICE on this particular case, and Ventura, I guess his name is, also could not identify the name of the individual the operation was targeting. ICE agents were not wearing body cameras either, as we've stated. Garcia said a detail that she really pressed him on. So we have another call coming in, 713-440-8870. Darren from Pearland. Darren, what's on your mind?
Hello, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I wish it were better conversations we were having, but yes, what can we do for you?
Yes, I just want to comment that, when I'm listening to all this, I kind of hear, like in sequence, this is like C, D, and E. A and B to me is that they are undocumented. They came into this country, without the proper documentation. That is a criminal offense, in my opinion. That's A. B, that they stayed here, this whole time without trying to be a citizen. That's B. And to me, look, I actually have family. My family's in another country, and if I were over there with them and I committed crimes, or I went there illegally and did some illegal stuff, I would not have any rights. Like how all this sympathy is towards these people that came here illegally.
I would just quickly note that under federal law, being undocumented in the U.S. is a civil offense, not a criminal offense.
Okay, I hear you. I'm just kind of just
No,
giving
Darren,
my opinion, though.
I hear what you're saying, and I hear your concern, but I also heard you say, if you were in this other country undocumented and you committed crimes. And I think a part of this that we need to keep in mind, too, is that the promise of this enforcement action that was happening across the country was, as the president repeated many times, it was to get out the worst of the worst. And when we look at Salgado here, we're not necessarily seeing the worst of the worst. We're seeing a man with, as much as we know at this point, no criminal record, having built a business here and been part of the community for 35 or 36 years, raising 3 sons, 2 of which have already graduated college. One is about to graduate college. It doesn't seem to hit the level of worst of the worst. It's as though if somebody is caught shoplifting, if the altercation ended up with the shoplifter being shot by the security, I think we'd have questions about it, because the crime, whatever you see as the crime, doesn't seem to justify the action that happened after the fact. Now, there's been a lot of question about what if they weaponized the vehicle and went after the officers, then they had right because deadly force was being used. The problem remains is that no one is bringing those facts to the table, and we are left to speculate a lot of this. And unfortunately, the source from which we are getting the information has been unreliable in the past in what they have reported. So I think that adds more concern and confusion to this situation.
And we also have relatively new comments from attorney Hugo Balderas, who represents one of the men being detained by ICE from the van. And he says that his client disputes the allegation that Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was trying to run anyone over. According to this attorney's client, at no point was there ever an ICE agent directly in front of the vehicle. Of course, there are still calls for a local investigation. There's the ongoing federal probe. So we'll see at some point what sort of details, if there are further disputes over what exactly happened. Right. We obviously have this attorney saying one thing and ICE and DHS saying another.
And I'm sure a lot of folks have the knee-jerk reaction, well, that's the attorney for the guys that were in the vehicle, which takes us back to the point of trying to find footage of evidence that shows it, early evidence that we have seen and heard, say that the van does not show signs of having been in any kind of altercation, and that the only tire track screech marks that have been found around the site of the accident came from the federal authorities' vehicles, not from the white van that the victim was driving. So there's a lot to unpack here. And as we have tried to push for this entire story is we have to have caution in what we surmise until we have facts to support it. But as we do as members of the human species, we are constantly trying to suss together the information that we get and the understanding of what we have learned in the past as we move forward. So all of that is at play here.
This makes a great case as to why we need all of the agencies involved giving a fresh approach and fresh look at what happened. HPD needs to be involved.
But Darren, I appreciate your calling in and your thoughts and concerns on this matter. We are going to continue to follow this story here at 713-440-8870 here on Hello Houston. We're going to take a break, and when we return, we are going to shift our gear slightly into a different story. But we are still here with you on Hello Houston.
Good morning.
Meet Gamola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Gamola to learn more about his ride.
At this World Cup, while Belgium may have had its easiest game against the U.S., the rest of the time they have been grinding out results when it mattered most. Belgian goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois.
I feel we are a great team all together now. We are fighting, and I think especially the game against Senegal showed the strength of our team to keep on believing till the end, and that's also a strength on a World Cup.
That game kicks off this afternoon. The winner books a semifinal spot on Tuesday at AT&T Stadium outside Dallas, where they will play France. Yesterday brought a statement win from France, who dispatched Morocco 2-0 at Gillette Stadium near Boston to kick off the quarterfinal round. It was scoreless for the first hour, but then Kylian Mbappe wrapped his shot around his defender and outstretched arms of the goalkeeper. 6 minutes later, Ousmane Dembélé doubled the score. France now sits close to making history, a win away from their third World Cup final in a row. No other team has ever done that. I'm Jimmy Moss.
Support for soccer tournament coverage comes from Vamos Verde. You can listen to our special World Cup episodes throughout the tournament, wherever you get podcasts.
Support for this soccer update comes from Karbach Brewing, makers of Hopadillo IPA, hosting summer soccer at Karbach, featuring live matches on a 14-foot LED screen along with internationally inspired food and drink offerings.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse and guest host Doris Childress.
For the past 2 weeks, we've been talking with Houston Public Media reporters Dominic Anthony Walsh and Sarah Greneau about After the Flood. The 5-part podcast series they've both been contributing to takes a deep and intimate look at the deadly floods that devastated the Texas Hill Country last year. This week, we're discussing the 3rd episode of the series, which follows the families of Camp Mystic victims as they turn their grief into action in the fight for stronger regulations around summer camps. Dominic and Sarah, thank you for coming back and talking with us. This is a wonderful series, just let me tell you that.
Thank
you. I don't want to say enjoyed it. I'm just going to say I've been moved by it. And I'm rethinking how summer camps operate and then just grief with families and loss. So job well done. Tell us what's ahead.
Right. So over the first 3 episodes, just to recap, we've met Matthew Childress, the father of Chloe, who was a counselor at Camp Mystic. She died on July 4th, along with 25 campers and another counselor. And over the first 3 episodes, we follow Matthew's arc from, finding out his daughter was missing, to identifying her body, to then, in the most recent episode, turning that grief into action and going to Austin, to the state capitol, to lobby for camp safety laws. Also, over the course of these first few episodes, we hear about the response from Kerr County officials. Episode 3, we hear that the top 3 officials in Kerr County who were responsible for sounding the alarm were asleep, sick, or out of town as the flood was happening. Next week, in terms of what's ahead, we're visiting, taking a little detour to Sandy Creek. It's a small unincorporated community in Travis County near Austin. It's really been kind of forgotten, wasn't really talked about as much, didn't make national news in the same way as Kerr County. And then in the final episode, Sarah is taking the lead to kind of ask the question of whether or not Kerr County is more prepared than it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm. That leads me to another question. What gaps in this emergency system did you find just surprising that they were there?
Yeah, there are a lot of questions that we're going to dive into later in the show. A big question, of course, is the legislative changes that happened last year, sort of mandating emergency plans for Kerr County and other jurisdictions that have seen a lot of flood events happening. So big question around that is, they have these plans, but what exactly do those entail? For example, Kerr County installed a number of sirens along the river. One of the things you'll hear later in the show is about the criteria that will actually be used to trigger the sirens on the river.
Well, I want to go back into this particular episode, in episode 3. And when I think of grief, of loss, it can be so crippling. What is it that you saw in your subjects that actually allowed them to move that into action, into advocating, that it didn't just make them sit there in sorrow, but what was the spark that said to them, use it for something better?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the case of both Matthew and Wendy Childress and a lot of the other Camp Mystic families, they seem to have realized relatively quickly that something went wrong, right? And there was anger there. And so they, met with a lobbying team and decided to advocate for changes. And Matthew Childress is still advocating along with other families over a year later, even after camp safety laws were passed in Texas. They're pushing for similar changes in other states. They've succeeded in Alabama, and there are bills in motion in other states across the country.
I want to get this clip in that you brought for us today, so we're going to listen to a little of this new episode. This is episode 3.
On July 12th, 2025, Matthew and Wendy Childress celebrated the life of their only daughter in Houston.
The funeral was overwhelming. It was a packed house.
Chloe's service was held at St. Luke's United Methodist Church about a week after they'd identified her body in Kerrville.
Walking into the sanctuary was overwhelming just to see the level and volume of people that were there. And the first 10 or so rows, the pews were filled with girls and her friends. They were all wearing white in honor of Chloe.
Some of Chloe's friends spoke. Matthew says they shared happy memories and silly stories. He wanted them to remember the best sides of Chloe. Then Matthew took his place behind the microphone.
I can't believe this is actually my turn to do this. So considering this is the first time I've ever had to do something like this, you guys please bear with me, and I promise that I'm the last person that's going to kind of beat you down today with stories. But I'm Matthew Childress, and I am honored to be the father of a hero, Chloe Madeline Childress. So yeah, this sucks. This sucks. This is as terrible as you think it is.
In his eulogy, and in the times he and I have spoken since, Matthew paints a portrait of an energetic, precocious little girl who became an ambitious young woman.
Chloe growing up was kind of a mess. She was always a handful, even just as an infant, as a toddler. She was always on the move, always doing something, always pushing. And a lot of that, I think, was just about her yearning to learn and to be more than she was at that moment.
Everything she faced, she figured out how to conquer. Without our hand-holding, she wanted to become a cheerleader and tumble and be a flyer. She did that, not us. She wanted to play guitar. She did that. She wanted to start a slime store back in the day. She made thousands of dollars selling slime all over the freaking world. She then decided to sell graduation buttons and stickers and pins. She made thousands of dollars selling this crap to all their friends.
When she started to grow up, we started to see that personality really come out in her schoolwork. She was driven. She wanted to be smarter. She wanted to drive to be better as a human being, as a woman, as a student.
So what was Chloe to become? Give me a second.
She had extremely good grades, got to the University of Texas on her own.
Already picking out and designing her room with new sweet roommates that were becoming her new best friends.
Matthew and his family were grieving everything Chloe could have been.
Awkward dates, hangovers, school, med school. She wanted to be a doctor. You know, work life, first apartments, dogs, marriage, crazy in-laws, kids. You know, it's not about 1,000 moments. It's about 1 billion moments that she's already had, but just many billions that she won't get to have now. And that's what we're currently grappling with.
Dominic Anthony Walsh and Sarah Gruneau are both reporters with Houston Public Media. Powerful segment from that. Thank you both very much for coming in. You'll come back again next week. We'll talk more as the next episode drops. The first 3 episodes of After the Flood are available to listen to now on all major podcasting platforms. The remaining 2 episodes will be released over the next 2 Wednesdays through July 22nd. Coming up, we'll continue discussing the topics of the day. We're also going to take a look at cryptocurrency and more on the ICE shooting. This is Hello Houston. Stay with us on News 88.7.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. With over 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
We should see a shower this afternoon, probably where you are. A high 92, 40% chance of rain. It's 85. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12:01.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump is refusing to sign a bipartisan affordability bill intended to lower the cost of housing and encourage more home construction. On social media, the Republican leader said he was protesting Congress's inability to pass a strict voter identification bill with the country well into midterm primary season. Trump had 10 days until today to sign or veto or allow the legislation to take effect at midnight without his signature. The administration has ousted the remaining leadership at the Election Assistance Commission. This leaves the independent agency in a precarious position heading into November's midterm elections. We have more from NPR's Ashley Lopez.
The White House says it has removed the last few commissioners of the Election Assistance Commission. This is an independent agency created in the wake of the 2000 presidential election, a close race plagued by administrative errors. The agency has since helped provide election officials with resources and has collected data about how elections went. The EAC was created to have 4 commissioners. At the beginning of this year, 1 Republican member abruptly resigned, and now another is also resigning. The agency's 2 Democratic members, however, were removed. Ashley Lopez, NPR News.
President Trump says Iran asked to keep negotiating an end to hostilities, and the U.S. agreed, but that the June ceasefire was over. He gave an update on social media today after 3 Qatari and Saudi commercial tankers came under fire this week and led to retaliatory strikes between the war rivals. Joseph Votel is a retired 4-star general and served as commander of U.S. Central Command from 2016 to 2019. On NPR, Votel was asked if he believed Iran was willing to risk prolonged war with the U.S. to maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz.
I think that's a big takeaway out of just these last 72, 96 hours, that Iran is principally focused on permanent sovereign control of the Straits of Hormuz, and they are willing to accept the risk of large-scale conflict before they're willing to relinquish it.
Goldman Sachs is prohibiting employees from betting on prediction markets such as Polymarket and Kalshi. NPR's Bobby Allen reports on the latest investment firm to warn staff against abusing confidential information.
Prediction markets offer betting on many topics involving finance, whether it's a company's quarterly earnings or what an analyst will say on an investor call or when a company will introduce a new service. The new rule from Goldman Sachs prohibits employees from placing bets on future outcomes related to finance, corporate America, elections, or geopolitics. It does allow for employees to wager on sports and entertainment. Billions of dollars are traded every week on prediction market sites, which are largely unregulated. Despite the new rule, Goldman Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon said earlier this year that prediction markets were, quote, super interesting, and that he had met with prediction market executives over possible partnerships. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Gail DeLauder. Local officials are discussing new developments in the case of a man shot by ICE agents in Houston's East End. Attorney Hugo Balderas Ibarra represents one of the men being detained by ICE. He says his client disputes the allegation Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was trying to run someone over.
They confirmed that at no point was there ever an ICE agent directly in front of the vehicle. They also confirmed that the shots came from the sides, not from the front, which is inconsistent, with the ICE agent statement. So they said that at no point was there ever an ICE agent in front of the vehicle.
Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia says she spoke with the acting director of ICE, who told her agents went after the wrong person.
He confirmed that Lorenzo Salgado Araujo was not the target of the operation, nor was his brother, who was a passenger in the vehicle. The director said that ICE was searching for an individual with a final removal order when officers believe had entered the van and that they had an administrative warrant.
Speaking today to Houston Public Media, Dr. Everett Penn of the Texas Juvenile Crime Prevention Center says if there were more training and de-escalation, the outcome could have been different.
We want safety to be number one for the citizen and for the police officer. Transparency helps us to do that. If I know what the practice is, if I know how a traffic stop should operate, I know the procedures, never giving away any secret tactics of the police.
For the latest on the East End shooting, you can go to our website, HoustonPublicMedia.org. Metro is returning to its regular schedule on Sunday. The transit agency was running additional bus and rail service to accommodate World Cup visitors. Metro says it's going back to its usual schedule now that Houston's matches are over. I'm Gail DeLauder, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Subaru. The 2026 Subaru Outback features new styling as well as standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and EyeSight driver assist technology. Learn more at Subaru.com/Outback.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse.
Hello, Houston. With me also today in our special guest host chair is Doris Childress. We've been following the story as it continues to evolve and unfold when it comes to the ICE shooting that happened earlier this week in Houston. In the first hour, we went in and out of the press conference that Sylvia Garcia was holding, and we also were sharing with you some information from the mayor's office about letters from the chief of police that were sent out to Homeland Security and the Houston FBI in that they will stay that they will work with these authorities for an open, clear investigation. All of that being said, we are going to jump right into the news headlines. Doris, take me away.
Yes, federal officials now say that the man killed during an immigration enforcement operation in Houston was not the intended target. According to the office of Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, ICE acting director told agents were actually seeking another passenger in the vehicle who was wanted on an administrative immigration warrant. The Department of Homeland Security also confirmed that the officers involved were not wearing body cams during Tuesday's operation. The shooting, which left Lorenzo Salgado Araujo dead, remains under investigation and has intensified with questions about the enforcement and accountability. Sylvia Garcia did have a press conference earlier today, and HPM reporter Kyle McClanahan is here to talk with us more on Hello Houston. Now, if you have a question or a comment about this topic, call us or text us at 713-440-8870. Kyle, can you give us an update?
Yes, so I just left the press conference, and like you mentioned, they went over a lot of different topics, including that news that broke yesterday that the ICE agents were apparently not wearing body cameras. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia accused ICE and DHS of already having enough money to have those body cameras, and said that she has been guaranteed that all agents within Houston and the surrounding area will have body cameras by the end of this month.
Kyle, I don't
yeah.
know. I just want to jump in on this particular point before you go on. And I hate to even pose this question. Do we know for a fact that they did not have these body cameras on? There are some images and photos that have come out after the actual altercation happened. Do we know they didn't have them, or I guess I'm just
You're
skeptical.
asking, or were they physically on them, or
Right.
were they turned off or on?
So DHS told HPM yesterday that the agents were not wearing body cameras, and DHS has blamed the government shutdown for that reason. But Sylvia Garcia is pushing back on that, saying DHS already had enough money to secure these body cameras and equip their agents with them.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt the rest of your reporting on what else you heard in the conference. Please continue.
Yeah, so Al Green was also there. He said he and his Democratic colleagues are calling for the release of all the video. He also said they've sent a letter giving a deadline of July 17th to confirm in writing that evidence will not be tampered with. And that is, he made a big deal of that because even though Sean Tier, the local DA, is investigating on his own, he and no other local agencies have been given access to DHS's evidence that's been collected so far.
Okay, I'm going to have another question for you right here, too. When you say that Al Green is asking or requesting the release of all the video, is it understood or believed that there is video we have not seen that does show more that the federal authorities have access to?
So my understanding is that's still unknown. Sylvia Garcia said she has collected video on her own and passed that on to the DA's office, but she said she herself has not seen or is aware of any video that shows the actual moment of the shooting.
Now, she's collected video that's been submitted to her. Now, is she sharing that with the other agencies so that there is a reciprocity in information? Yes.
Yeah. She said she's sharing it with the DA's office. Okay. I'm not sure if she has shared it with DHS.
The lawyer who is now representing the three other gentlemen that were in the van, I find this the most fascinating new piece to the story. What can you tell us of what he said in his interactions?
Yes, so he's representing two of the three men who were also detained on the scene. And he said that he spoke with them earlier this week and plans to speak with them again this weekend. He said the men are facing pressure to sign basically deportation papers to agree to be deported, and he has told them not to sign those papers.
Wow.
That was a shocker.
Yeah. Sean Tier was on the show yesterday, made reference to the fact that at that point he wasn't quite sure where these gentlemen were and whether or not they were in the process of being deported. If they do not sign documentation, I don't know, this is just my armchair look at this, but that hasn't seemed to be needed to deport people in the last year or so. So tell me, what does it matter if they sign this or not?
Well, of course, the attorney representing them doesn't want them to be deported. Neither does the DA's office, because they had firsthand accounts of what happened. And the attorney also said that their account of the incident does not match that DHS released the day of the shooting. He's claiming that the three other men, or at least the two that he's representing, say that Araujo did not try and target the agents with his car.
So take me in there and give me as much as you know and as much as the lawyer was able to share today. What was the step-by-step account of what happened in that altercation? What do we know now, at least from their point of view? And we should be clear, these are the folks that were in the van. So once again, there is no corroborating video of any of this. But what have we heard?
Yeah, so they didn't share a ton of details because they said they didn't want to release everything in case there's going to be pending litigation or charges or something like that. Okay. But according to the attorney representing the other passengers in the vehicle, the ICE agents were in unmarked cars, and it was very confusing on if they properly identified themselves. It's still unknown if they did. But the main thing is they're disputing, according to their attorney, that Araujo did not try and run over one of the agents, which of course is the excuse that DHS is giving for why shots were fired.
There was an interesting assembly of folks at the podium. It seemed to hit all different agencies and levels of our local government. Other information that came out that you want to share with us from other individuals?
Yes, so DA Sean Tier said that he has been in discussions with the FBI, which is not itself investigating the shooting, but he's been in discussions with them. He's also been in discussions with HPD, even though Mayor Whitmire said that HPD is not going to be conducting its own investigation. Additionally, they've been in discussions with the Houston Fire Department, which responded to the medical emergency of Araujo being shot and gave him medical treatment and transferred him to a hospital.
As I understand, also it was said Araujo's body is being released to the family. Is it today?
So they didn't release any details on that. Garcia said that's more of a private matter for the family and did not provide any other details regarding his body and if or when it's going to be released.
Kyle, if you can stay with us. Kyle McClanagan is a reporter with Houston Public Media. I want to grab a couple phone calls. So the number here, if you want to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. Gordon is on the line from Galleria. Gordon, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Ernie, for letting me join your conversation.
Let me stop here and say you're not just Gordon from the Galleria. You're Gordon Quan.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We talked about the S visa and who can do that. Mm-hmm. It's been my understanding that Homeland Security normally makes the recommendation. But as far as being railroaded into signing these documents for immediate deportation, we still have due process in this country. These gentlemen need to be charged with a notice to appear as to the charges brought against them. There has to be an opportunity to go to court. I know one of your callers had said if somebody broke the law, they should just be immediately removed. Mm-hmm. That's not how we do things in immigration here in the United States. If Mr. Salgado was in the process of getting his immigration, he has a right to a hearing to show why he should not be deported. And I don't know the facts of these other guys, but if they have any basis to remain, their hearing should be held to determine that. It's not an arbitrary determination where people are just, you look illegal, you're from Mexico, we sign these papers and you're out of here. That's not how the court system works.
Help me understand this one wrinkle in all of this. The signing of these documents, is that to remove legal responsibility, would you assume, from the federal government when they remove these individuals by saying, see, they agreed to this, so we remove them, as opposed to just forcibly removing them? Because the stories we hear of a lot of these deportations is there is no due process. There is no signing of contracts or agreements.
Oftentimes people are not aware of legal rights, and they can sign a document called voluntary departure. I voluntarily agree to leave, which admonishes, covers the government from any liability because they said, "Let me go. I'm on my own. Don't detain me. Don't put me in jail. Don't let me go before an immigration judge."
Well, in this particular case, are there any measures that can be taken to prevent an accidental or mistaken deportation, urgent deportation?
Well, I'm happy to hear that they have retained counsel. Mm-hmm. That counsel has at least 7 days to argue his case and to prepare. So I do not think that any immigration judge would remove these people expeditiously in a situation where a murder has occurred and there's a potential for them being witnesses.
Does it concern you, or is it standard practice that the, and I guess it's ICE, would have produced these documents and asked them to sign? Does that send off any red flags for you of they are trying to remove them from the situation, or is this standard procedure how this would happen in this time frame?
Clearly, it's a red flag because, we have like 3 million people in cases waiting for hearings. To jump the line and to bring them up immediately tells you something's fishy here, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I have cases that are backed up to year 2028. So why would some judge suddenly put them at the top of the line for a hearing tomorrow or immediately?
Yeah. Mr. Quan, thank you so much for calling in and sharing with us. I hope you would consider coming on the show and talking with us a little more in depth as this story continues to develop. We would love for your insight and knowledge in this area.
No problem. Just let me know.
Thank you very much. Gordon Quan, who a very familiar name in this arena, is a lawyer and has worked on deportation cases in his long and storied career. 713-440-8870. Noah from Houston is on the line. Noah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, can you hear me, Ernie?
Yes, we can.
All right, cool, excellent. So I'm outside working, a little emotional, so I'm going to try to keep it in check. But I was calling in regards to actually compound on a similar topic of discussion as the previous gentleman, and also kind of to respond from the gentleman at the previous hour in regards to the idea that, well, he was a criminal because he was an immigrant. But when we minimize it down to just that, we take away the humanity from the situation, and it snowballs into a lot of things that could come down in the future. Just what we're okay to accept right now and look past. What else can we look past? For instance, all this money that was put into the ICE organization to become a paramilitary organization, I'm pretty sure we also would have heard if any of that money was going into bolstering the court system and getting those backlog of cases that the gentleman in front of me just spoke about situated and expedited and actually put through. If we can take those ICE agents and shorten their time period of being able to get their training, so they get lesser training, and also give them a fat sign-on bonus, why is there not the equivalent of that inside the court system to get those entry-level positions that are there? Move the people in entry-level positions up into the positions that can grow into getting those things done, since that's clearly, if they're going to get that position, wants to grow into that. If that isn't happening, and we would have known about it because it would have been a point of defense for the administration this whole time, if that was the thing that was happening. So that's just a thought of mine that's there, because it kind of feels like, with all that considered, not to mention all the bogged down kind of, I guess, legal things that are happening from, in Paxton, for instance, trying to take away the funding from the representation in Houston for immigrants and stuff like that, to kind of keep them in a position where they cannot move up or down, that either drown in the system or they leave by themselves. This isn't about immigration at that point in time. It becomes a point of like hunting for others and trying to make them villains and get them out of here. And then what happens whenever there's no more others to look for? Am I the one who's next? My last name is Espinosa. What if I look like that man who they're looking for? I'm out here in a work truck. I have equipment in my vehicle. Am I going to get pulled up and taken care of just like that man? Am I going to be another dead body in the streets? Now, my daughter's left alone. I'm a citizen. The thin line between that is only a documentation. My ethnicity, my name, the similar work that I do puts me in the similar category of being in fear of being treated the same way, of like an other. And so I just want to bring that to the attention and, get it out there.
No, I appreciate your calling in and sharing these concerns, and also the thoughts on a different way to approach a difficult situation. You started the conversation by saying you were outside and going to try and keep your emotions in check. If you don't mind, if you could talk to us just a moment about emotionally the impact that this story is having on you and your family and friends.
It's been, for the last couple of years, to start out, I'm pretty outspoken. Me in the YouTube chat. I'm pretty outspoken about my thoughts and opinions. My grandmother and my aunties, they're second-generation Mexicans, and they fought for my rights during the civil rights movement. They're still alive. Some of my aunties are in full-blown dementia right now. And when these things are happening on the news and stuff like that, and they get teleported straight back to a time where they feel like they're reliving that fight again without any differences, that scares me. When my grandmother comes to me and she pulls me aside, she goes, "Hey, you need to watch what you say because this administration could come and get you." That's terrifying if you really think about it. And we can't afford to be scared, so I try not to be scared. But then these things happen right here, so close. And it's not just that. I work outside. Some of these people come out to me and they don't realize, because I'm also half white, and they see that I'm a little less Mexican than I am white, or vice versa. And some of the things are sitting here out of pocket, but it's like they're comfortable to stay with me because they don't see me as other person, but that hate is there, just bubbling. So, and then all this is happening, and it comes down to the point of when we sit here and we dehumanize the situation and we just take it for hate and we try to put this blame on people for these problems that are happening when it's not even like that. I mean, there was a chance for these things to change 2 years ago in February 24. And instead of actually getting something done, it was blocked because of some selfish needs to a person that we all know very well, and was used to weaponize his base to get power. And now he's got the power, and it's not about changing the system. It's about wielding fear to make things.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I won't. I won't make you continue on. I appreciate your sharing with us today. I do appreciate your comments often as one of our YouTubers, and I appreciate you calling in right now to talk about this very difficult situation. Thank you, Noah.
Of course, guys. You guys have a good one. I'm going to get back to it. Keep listening. I appreciate everything y'all
You
do for us
too.
and keeping us informed.
Please take care.
Thank you. It's a very difficult situation. It's something that affects our community on a lot of different levels. It doesn't matter where you fall politically. You can still have compassion for individuals in this situation. And we have to find a way to treat our
Fellow
brothers
man.
and sisters, our
Yeah.
fellow man, with respect and dignity,
I just don't like hearing that fear.
Yeah.
And I don't like feeling that fear when I'm watching the news every night or I'm hearing someone like Noah talk. That fear is overwhelming.
Yeah. We are going to take a break right now. We're going to continue on with the show in just a minute. Continue to share your thoughts, your feelings. We are here for you to hear how you are doing as part of our community. 713-440-8870. This is Hello Houston.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
More to watch, more to discover, more to learn. HPM Plus streams the best of PBS and Houston Public Media. Kids, drama, science, local, all in one free app. Go live with channels like TV8, Create, PBS Kids, NHK World, and more, streaming around the clock. And PBS members get full access to past seasons with Passport. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs. It's all waiting for you.
On HPM Plus.
On the podcast After the Flood from the Texas Newsroom and PBS's Frontline, we meet people who survived last year's floods in the Hill Country and those who lost loved ones. And we try to answer the questions they still have. After the Flood, out now.
Support comes from Rice University's Moody Center for the Arts, presenting Summer Jam, an afternoon of art activities featuring an indoor farmers market, live DJ, outdoor games, and more. Saturday, July 18th at 5 p.m. moody.rice.edu.
Join us for Hello Houston, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., taking a deep dive into the stories that matter to Houstonians, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained. With the generous support from our founding sponsor, Kathy Sanders.
Support comes from Alley Theater, inviting audiences to stay cool with its summer chills tradition. The Girl on the Train, a psychological thriller based on the best-selling novel, opens July 24th. Tickets at alleytheater.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse and guest host Doris Childress.
Cryptocurrency kiosk, sometimes called crypto ATMs, are becoming a growing tool for scammers, and Texans have lost around $56 million through these schemes. Last year alone, that was $56 million. As lawmakers consider whether the machines need more oversight, we're taking a closer look at how these scams work and what's being proposed to help protect consumers. Joining us now is Ayden Runnels, who reported on this story for the Texas Tribune. Ayden, welcome to Hello Houston. I was going to say Houston Public Media, but Hello Houston. If you guys would like to get in on this discussion, call or text us at 713-440-8870. So, Ayden, let's start off with, how do these scams operate?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all so much for having me. So, a lot of the victims I spoke to, every single case is different, but generally how they start is they get a phone call from a number that looks like a police department or maybe the bank that they bank with. And it's somebody on the line who's, a bit terse, telling them they owe a fine, their bank account's been compromised, they missed jury duty, and now, they need to pay bond. Just trying to inundate the victim with a lot of information all at once. And they're very convincing. They'll have real names of real officers, ID badges, things like that. And we'll try to coax the victim out of their homes, seemingly on their way to the bank or to the court. And then they will, once the person is out of the house, they will redirect them to a bank in all cases to withdraw cash and tell them there are these kiosks around town, right by where you live, that'll be easier to pay these fines that you owe. And then after they have the cash, we'll direct them to these crypto kiosks in gas stations, smoke shops, grocery stores, and stay on the line with them as they deposit sometimes tens of thousands of dollars into them at a time.
Let me jump in here. The crypto kiosks, my concern is, are these legitimate kiosks or are they all set up by scam? Is there a legitimacy to these items and they are just to found a way to, and I hate to use this term after our conversations today, but to weaponize these kiosks?
So the operators are, as far as everyone understands, uninvolved with these scams. They're basically third parties, but scammers have used these kiosks to streamline the way they scam people exponentially. They're a lot easier to use than, say, older scams like telling people to buy gift cards or gold. Once you insert the cash, it converts to cryptocurrency and it can be, whisked away into several other crypto wallets. And it can circumvent traditional banking laws and head overseas in a matter of hours.
Now, the group most commonly affected by this is the 60 to 70-year-old age group. So if that's the case, now I know a lot of 60 and 70-year-olds, and they're usually skeptical about everything. I don't trust this. I don't trust that. Why is it they fall victim to this when most of the time they're second-guessing everything else?
Yeah. Part of, I think, what has made this such a vulnerability, especially from some of the older folks that I talk to, is there are a lot of new pieces to scams that scammers can use to make things seem more convincing. One woman I spoke to, Maria, they knew that she had just moved into a new house. They sent her fake court documents with her full name, with her new address, with case numbers that appeared real. In some cases, I've talked to folks where they actually have realistic AI-generated photos of real police officers standing next to these kiosks. And all of that comes in time with this sense of urgency that is, given by scammers over the phone to the victim, telling them, you're in trouble. You signed this document, maybe you forgot about it, you were supposed to show up to the court, and just inundating them with all of these details and information to overwhelm them, to get them out of their house and to these kiosks.
So this is beyond the basic blanket scam that they used to do. They are tailoring them to each individual now?
Absolutely, yeah. A number of folks I talked to, the fake documents they received had their full names. These fake court documents often have personal details. So there's a lot of personalization that goes into it.
We had a comment come in from our YouTube channel. My British Computer Guy says, kiosks are legit. However, hardly anyone uses them except for people being scammed. They need to get rid of them. Is there a way to put regulation on these kiosks?
Absolutely. And, a lot of the advocates and law enforcement folks I talked to have described Texas as being so far behind. A lot of other states have already put regulations, a variety of kind. In California, there's a state registry. You can look where every single kiosk is, who operates it. There are mandated warnings. Several states have banned them outright because, they're just felt the business they offered wasn't worth the trouble. And as far for, the types of transactions, one study from the Iowa Attorney General's office found that 98% of the transactions from one particular operator were for scams. That was 98%. So
I want to remind folks that we're talking with Texas Tribune reporter Ayden Runnels. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can give us a call at 713-440-8870.
Yeah, what red flag would make you just stop in your tracks and say, wait a minute, this is a scam? Because I know we have limited to no regulations here in Texas, unlike when you see lottery purchases, it'll say, help for gambling. There's not that on the cryptocurrency ATM. So what's a good red flag to stop people from making that mistake?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is if somebody who says they're law enforcement is telling you that they need cryptocurrency, that is the first big red flag. But, other instances include if somebody's texting you court documents, that's a big red flag. That's not how court documents are sent. If you're concerned that you're being scammed, if you're being called from a number that is, say, the sheriff's department, and they give you a callback number that's different than the number they're calling from, that's another big red flag. And the easiest way to check that is just to hang up and call the police department back from the same number. Oftentimes I've talked to folks where they hang up and they call back and the police, have no clue what they're talking about because they haven't been talking to an officer that whole time.
Is part of what makes this so easy to scam folks with is that so many don't really understand cryptocurrency to begin with. And so when you move it into this arena, they're already off solid footing in what they know and understand, and it makes it easier to scam people.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that's part of the misconception when I was talking to folks or hearing from people I was reporting on this story is this idea that a lot of the victims were already sort of interested in the world of cryptocurrency. None of the victims I spoke to had ever used crypto before. They had no idea how it worked, and that's part of what makes the retrieval of the money almost impossible after the fact is because they have no understanding of how it works. They forget to grab a receipt, which usually has what's called a wallet address, and it just makes the retrieval process very difficult. And a lot of folks just don't understand when they're inserting money that it's being converted to crypto to begin with, because some of these scams will call them, legal kiosks, court kiosks for paying legal fees. And again, we'll use this faux imagery of law enforcement next to them to appeal to that image.
Have funds ever been recovered in one of these scams?
There have been a few cases where during the transfer process of crypto, overseas, a lot of times they will run through public exchanges of cryptocurrency. And occasionally, I talked with some law enforcement officials, they can get court orders to block the transfer of funds through the public exchange. A lot of the wallets that they go through, however, are privately owned. There's no way to send a court order because they don't know who owns them. But none of the people I spoke to personally received their money back. And I think the amount I talked to, 12 to 15 people was hundreds of thousands of dollars collectively, and none of them received their money back. And a lot of times law enforcement tells them, respectfully, don't get your hopes up because it's really hard to do. The Financial Crimes Intelligence Center in Texas estimates there's really only a 36 to 48 hour window to retrieve any funds.
If I'm following this correctly, so Texans have lost nearly $57 million through cryptocurrency scams in a single year?
Those are just cryptocurrency kiosk scams. There's a number of different kinds of scams involving crypto. And the reason that, part of why we highlighted that and why the FBI is raising the alarm is in the past 2 years, that number and the number of complaints has spiked really exponentially. There were almost 1,200 complaints to the FBI in 2025, and that was a 30% increase from the year before. And from 23 to 24, it was a 99% increase. So it's still in the grand scheme of all crypto schemes, it's relatively small, but it is growing very, very fast.
And I suspect the numbers could be higher because there's a bit of shame once you've been scammed when you're not going to report it. But once you are scammed, what are the steps you need to take? I mean, because now it's just reporting and trying to help prevent it from happening to someone else. What should we do?
Yeah. So the first thing is to stop sending money. And that sounds like an obvious step, but in a lot of cases, scammers will scam people who are already victimized by reaching out and saying, we're with a funds retrieval service and, we'll help you. So the first thing is to be wary, contact law enforcement, file a police report, file a report with the FBI, file a report with the Financial Crimes Intelligence Center, the Attorney General's office. And then, be cautious. A lot of law enforcement I spoke to mentioned, if there's added protections your phone provider can add to block spam calls, be sure to do that. Don't pick up calls that you don't know. And certainly because this affects folks who are older or maybe less informed about these kinds of scams, always be having conversations with your family members of all ages about the warning signs to look out for that we discussed, numbers that don't match, callback numbers that don't match the original numbers, texting court documents, things like that.
That's always the point that I bring up. No matter who calls and tells you you owe or have to pay or anything like that, you have to independently find the phone number to the agency or the organization or the business and reach out yourself, as opposed to using the numbers they give you, because oftentimes you'll get a comment, this is from your credit card company. Then hang up and call the number on your credit card. They will know if you owe them money. It's not that it will be lost in the system. So don't ever go with a cold call to you. Always initiate the call yourself. I do have a side question to all of this, and this is the part I don't understand when it comes to crypto. I don't understand the benefits to crypto that don't fall within the realm of questionable or even illegal behavior, because it seems the selling point of crypto is that nobody can trace it. And so if you're doing things with money that you don't want traced, that's probably not a good sign that what you're doing is positive and uplifting. Can you help me understand this whole world in a brief answer?
Yeah. And, admittedly before this, I am not a crypto user myself, although in the process of, reporting on this, I've dabbled a bit. But there is certainly an argument to be made that cryptocurrency, in the same way that it streamlines these scams, can streamline legitimate business transactions as well. Banking laws and restrictions are there for safety, but they also do slow down transactions for anything, not just illegal, scams, but also if people are buying and selling property and things like that. The unfortunate part is everything that is enticing about cryptocurrency is also enticing to the scammers and can sometimes be used jointly. If somebody wants to interact with crypto, say in the real estate space, in the case of one person I spoke to, you can have legitimate transactions that way, but you can also very easily be duped into illegitimate transactions as well. So I would say for the benefits, definitely speed and privacy, which some people very much value.
Are there any victim advocacy or support services for the people who have been taken in these crypto scams?
Now, off the top of my head, I can't think of any dedicated victim advocacy services, but one group I spoke with that is very passionate about bringing awareness to this issue is AARP. They've issued a number of, fact sheets. They reach out and talk with victims. They testified both in the State House and the Senate about this issue, so they're very passionate about it. And then law enforcement is also very, this is something they see almost every day. Speaking with them about what you can do can be helpful.
Does regulation become more of an issue, a problem in this arena when the folks at the top of the pyramid, when it comes to the federal government, seem so heavily involved in crypto? Does that make it harder for legislation to move forward? Are we seeing resistance from the federal government in regulating as opposed to any other kind of arena that would lend itself so easily to scams?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and my story was very much focused on sort of the state level look, but I think in the world of cryptocurrency, there is a lot of hesitation or apprehension at how the federal government might be involved. But some folks are very excited. There is the Clarity Act, which has been long discussed among, people on both sides of the crypto issue that I think people are hoping can potentially lay down some regulations on the kiosks as well. But for right now, this is very much sort of a states on their own thing.
And is there anything on the horizon for Texas for regulations?
Well, we have a legislative session starting in January, and both the Texas House and Senate have interim charges where they've already held meetings about these kiosks. They have a little bit of a different framing for each chamber. For the House, they're looking at it sort of through the lens of elder fraud, which the FCIC testified this is the number one issue, number one way that elder fraud is happening in Texas right now. And then for the Senate, they're looking a little bit more broadly at cryptocurrency regulations writ large, and the kiosks are specifically named in those charges and are sort of one facet of the overarching regulation for crypto.
Ayden, thank you so much for joining us and helping to open folks' eyes to this a little more. The first thing is shine light, and then people may be able to start to see and learn from this. Thank you.
Ayden Runnels is a reporter for the Texas Tribune. You can read their story on cryptocurrency kiosks at texastribune.org. Ayden, thank you for joining us once again here at Hello Houston. Coming up, last minute plans and more Hello Houston.
Stay with us.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston System, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Discovery Green, presenting Kicks and Coffee, featuring pickup soccer games and skill exercises for all ages. Saturday mornings throughout the summer. More information at discoverygreen.com.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8, American Experience presents Part 1 of JFK, looking at President Kennedy's rise to power from his birth to his election in 1960. Tonight at 8 on TV 8.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Alley Theater, presenting The Girl on the Train, a psychological thriller about memory, perception, and the search for the truth. Opens July 24th. Tickets at alleytheater.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse and guest host Doris Childress.
It has been a heavy week for us. There's been a lot of news and a lot going on. We spend a lot of time on this show talking about issues, not just locally, but also nationally that impact our community. And this week it collided right here in Houston.
Very heavy week. But there are lessons to be learned, things to take away from all of this chaos. Mm-hmm. Just be nice to each other.
Yeah, we were talking in the break about humanity. Yeah. And where has humanity gone? There can still be
rules, regulations, and laws.
Yes, there can still be penalties to pay for illegal behavior. That doesn't mean you have to stop being human or kind or understanding of your fellow man. We all don't walk in each other's shoes. We don't know the issues they face. But anyway, it got us to the end of the week, and always at the end of the week, we talk about our last-minute plans on Fridays on the show, so we would love to hear yours, whether it's something you're attending, something you're hosting, something you just want to make folks aware of. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. Also yesterday, though, our Shantir interview went longer, and we weren't able to get to folks' current obsessions. So if you've got current obsessions, too, we'll hear those as well. 713-440-8870. Before we get into it, though, a few comments came in, and I want to share those with you. Caller appreciated Noah Espinosa's comments. He is informed, intelligent, and genuine. She is puzzled how she is to conduct herself with people in unmarked vehicles. She would be terrified. Suddenly, people who couldn't wear masks in COVID can cover their faces now. That call brings up a comment that I believe it was maybe Shantir who said, that he told his children this, that if you are pulled over by an unmarked vehicle or even a marked vehicle, you call 911 and ask to find out and verify if there's a report, and also to put on your GPS and let a family member know where you are, and that is important to do. Roberto from the Museum District, tomorrow we should start with solutions. Sylvia Garcia, representative, should sponsor a bill. ICE must have body cams, and the city is automatically involved. I do believe also in one of the stalling things in voting through the big, beautiful bill was, or even the budget maybe it was the push to make sure that ICE funding, that they did have to wear cameras and they had to be activated. And so that was part of the discussion back there, and I'm sure it's going to happen again. Here's one. Pull your tissues out. Be ready, folks. Caller said that he was in a McDonald's and people were listening to Hello Houston. Most of them were Hispanic, and they were in tears when they heard Noah's call that was on the show.
And
the reason
almost had me in tears also, man.
Yeah, I have to say, it's because our community is in pain that we are feeling this. It is, regardless of the status of the individual that was involved in this situation, someone lost their life in this community. And the part that's even harder now for me to grapple with is the point that was not the person they were looking for. And newer information implies maybe the other three in the vehicle weren't either. And so, yes, maybe they had questionable documentation status, but no one deserved to die. And to die in a situation that was in error. And I think there's a recklessness that's out there on the streets that doesn't need to be.
Yeah. But if you have to find a silver lining in any of this, and just go with me on this, it's the fact that we all still care, and we're feeling it, we're talking about it, and it seems like we are communing with it. We're fellowshipping with this notion that something's got to be done, and we do still care for our fellow man.
Yeah.
That's the silver lining, because when you become numb, everything is gone.
Claudia reached out to us and said she has experienced road rage in Houston, and she wouldn't stop for an unmarked vehicle. That's one of the stories we're hearing that's coming out of the Salgado case, is that he didn't know who these cars were that were pushing behind him. I don't know how we know that or don't know that, but that is part of the conversation. We had a phone caller who asked a question. Ray asks, does the computer in the car track if you accelerate or not? Depends on the car, depends on the computers, I assume, because I know that oftentimes...
In whose car? In the...
I don't know whose car exactly, but cars themselves do have that ability, because oftentimes insurance will want to get the readout.
And the apps, because we have an app where we track our girls. Yeah. And it will tell you how many accelerations, how many phone calls you've taken, shady driving, points you've gone. It tracks you.
Mama Doris is watching.
I'm on it.
Don't you worry about it. Okay, those are just some of the comments that we have had coming up. But now, as we promised you, time to get into either last-minute plans or current obsessions. Frederick is on the phone from Southside. Frederick, what do you have planned for the weekend?
Hi, I just want to let everybody know about a hydration drive we're having for homeless people at the Geidt Gallery tomorrow from 12 to 6.
Give me the gallery address. Do you know what it is?
Yes, it's 2024 Alabama, and the zip is 77004. It's in 3rd Ward.
Thank you very much for that, Frederick. That's one of the things.
That's a great outreach event.
Yeah, and I try and always stress here, we don't just want to know what you're doing for fun and enjoyment, but if you're hosting an event the community should know about. So there's a hydration drive. Frederick, again, the name of the gallery was?
The Geidt Gallery.
Geight's Gallery. Thank you very much, Frederick, for sharing that with us. My British computer guy says that his last-minute plans to find a good spot to watch England play their World Cup match game tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, have you been following that much?
I had been until we lost.
That's what I say, But now it frees you up to just enjoy the game.
Just enjoy it, because it's not the pressure of going, I got to win. We got to win. Yeah.
For your last-minute plans, anything you got planned for the weekend?
Well, it's been a heavy show, and I don't want to make it any heavier, but
I'm
doing I'm involved in a mental health conference or Zoom for young African-American kids dealing with suicide. So it's with our Girl Scout troop, but we're opening it up to other parents and students. And it's something that's very, very important. And I'm looking forward to being involved with it.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but if people want to know more about it, do you have any information?
You can go to covenantglen.org, and then the Zoom link will be there.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go back out to the theater. Tonight I'm going to go back and see the Tamara Cooper show again tonight to get a good laugh, because I think I need that
I think
week.
so.
It's been a lot of heavy stuff, and that's happening over at the Match. They're in their it's a greatest hits of Tamara Cooper's Tamara shows that happen every summer. As far as current obsessions, I would be remiss if I have not mentioned it. I've tried to stay out of talking about it this week. One of my favorite singers has passed away, and Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart, It's a Heartache, Holding Out for a Hero. Those were three of her biggest hits. She passed away at 75. Yesterday. Was it just yesterday?
Yeah.
Very sad to share that information and to remember at 75. She'd had a rough go. We had talked a little bit on the show. She had had a problem, a burst appendix maybe, or something in an intestine, a cut in the throat. The family's been very private about what happened, but it was a serious infection. They ended up putting her into a medically induced coma. There were rumors she had been intubated.
In and out, yeah.
They had brought her out. She seemed to have had a heart attack. They put her back into the coma earlier in last month. There had been talk that she was out of the coma. Finally, there was a little hope. They said she was still gravely ill, but this was in a move in the right direction. And then Bonnie didn't make it.
You had a long conversation with her on interviews, right?
Multiple times throughout the years I've talked with Bonnie. At one point, I was reminiscing with a friend of mine about this the other day, that back in the had to be the 90s, the early 90s.
Oh, but you were just a kid.
I was just a child, a small wee one. She said to me once on the phone that I was her last fan left in the United States. And to that I say, Bonnie, I've watched all the outpouring of sorrow and pain and warm wishes toward her family that shows me I'm far from the last Bonnie Tyler fan that was out there. And so it's sad to see a
great artist lost.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique voice on the pop culture scene.
I still say great artist.
There will never be an eclipse where we don't pull out Total Eclipse of the Heart and play it. We want to know, what have you been obsessed with about? I asked you your last minute plans for the weekend. Any obsessions that have been taking up all your free time, Doris?
Oh my God, making shaved ice.
Making shaved ice? You're obsessed with making shaved ice?
Yes, because you're always going to all these little huts getting the shaved ice. Now I can do it at home. Now I'm experimenting with all these.
Okay, so what are you
flavors.
using? What machine are you using to shave your ice?
I don't know if I can say that. Well, I'm going to say it. KitchenAid, the big mixer. Remember I told you I got it on sale, half price.
Right.
Then I bought the attachment.
Doris, for those of you who don't know, Doris is a big
bargain shopper.
Bargain hunter.
And so I got the little attachment, and I used it at the 4th of July party, which was a hit. And now we've just been making that shaved ice and, experimenting with different flavors, cotton candy, tiger's blood, blue raspberry with cream.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to put the condensed milk on it.
Doris's Frescaria, is that what they call those? You can be out there doing it. A story we didn't get to today that we wanted to get to, but falls into your being a shopaholic now, is the drones delivering your packages.
Yes.
And you said you've had them delivered to your home?
Oh, yes, like 4 this week. I mean, some this week. Well,
the number's out.
It was 4 this week, and it's this big hovering out, and then they'll drop it. Now, they're very careful. If they know it's something fragile or, slightly breakable, they will drop it in the middle of the yard. Otherwise, it's by the mailbox. They avoid trees. It's pretty good.
Really?
It's good.
Now,
and you can get it instantly.
A new service is coming in, I guess, in the area, and they're going to tether the packages so that they drop them down more.
That is good, because then they're able to drop in things like if it's a glass product. Some of the things that I've ordered haven't been glass or, really, really fragile. With the tether, in my opinion, it allows them to drone in more things because you can slowly lift it or drop it to the ground. I've really looked at this.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
When there's a very popular shopping site online, I'm not going to give its name, but when you order from it, they let you choose, window of delivery
Yes.
and whether in garage or outside of garage. Is
I
there
don't like
something?
by the garage because you'll forget the package.
No, I never forget a pet. Well, when you have as many coming to your house as you do, Doris, you may forget them. But I'm wondering, do you get to pick if you want it to be drone dropped or if it's human dropped, or how do you get that choice?
You can pick, and I've been droning because I want people to stop walking on my grass. Yes, I have become that old lady. Stop walking on my grass, because right in the middle of my manicured lawn, I'm going to see this little trail of footprints because I do have packages being dropped.
There are things happening all over town quickly as we say goodbye. There's Lego night at the Houston Botanic Garden. There is America 250 night at the MFA. There is the farewell
T.I. in
night.
concert.
A T.I. in concert. We were having some fun with that. The rapper will be here. So much more. Look around. See what's going on. Enjoy your weekend here in Houston until Monday when we come back. But Doris, thank you for joining me.
No problem.
Famed author, Houston-based acclaimed author Jennifer Michu will be here with us on Monday, and I'll be back with you too. See you Monday.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Your favorite PBS and Houston Public Media shows, live, on demand, and all in one place. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs.
HPM Plus.
With a 40% chance of an afternoon thunder shower.